We, the jury, find the defendant, Hernandez Govan, not guilty in count 2 of the indictment. Ma'am.
Court's in session.
A stunning verdict for the man accused of orchestrating a beloved rapper's murder.
Govan told Smith that there was a $100,000 bounty on Adolph Thornton's life, and that the money was good. The money was guaranteed.
If this is what is sufficient evidence for first-degree murder, we're all in trouble because you're going to be next.
We're taking you inside that Memphis courtroom for that shocking trial, plus the reaction of the alleged mastermind's acquittal.
I knew in my heart I was innocent.
Thanks so much for joining us on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. Hernandez Govan was accused of directing 2 men to gun down rapper Young Dolph in 2021. Those men claim that they were offered money and other perks. Now, one still has to go on trial, another is serving a life sentence, and one of them is walking free.
This individual.
It's me. It's me.
That's just a snippet of the testimony from the man who admitted to gunning down rapper Young Dolph. But that's not the same man who just was on trial. Real quick, to understand how we got to this trial, we have to go back to November of 2021. On November 17th of that year, Adolph Thornton Jr., aka Young Dolph, was visiting what was reportedly one of his favorite bakeries in Memphis.
And at that stoplight, they see a special car pass through. And what is that car? A blue camouflage Corvette. Most people in Memphis know that there is only one person in this city that drives that car in this region of town. Adolph Thornton.
We'll never know what was going through his mind in the moment leading up to what happens next, but you can imagine the simple answer was just getting something sweet from Makita's cookies with his brother, because he was likely unaware someone was following them. Young Dolph wasn't in the bakery long before a man jumped out of the passenger side of the car and bullets flew. Young Dolph was killed instantly. The music industry was stunned to hear of his murder. Rapper Gucci Mane wrote, "Rest in peace to my friend Dolph. This broke my heart." LL Cool J wrote, "Rest in power, young brother. I pray your children and family are covered and lifted by the Almighty." And Chance the Rapper wrote, quote, "God bless Dolph. Real independent Memphis rapper born in Chicago, loved by millions of people, always showed love every time I seen him. This is tragic. God bless his family, man." But of course, the city of Memphis lost a huge fixture. In a tweet from now former Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland, he wrote, quote, "The tragic shooting death of rap artist Young Dolph serves as another reminder of the pain that violent crime brings with it. My thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends." And after his murder, officials worried more violence could come. Then U.S. Representative London Lamar tweeted she would recommend Memphis City Council implement a citywide curfew for the night. Now, the 2 shooters were captured on surveillance video, and they were eventually caught. One of the alleged shooters is Cornelius Smith, who pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, and the other was Justin Johnson, who was convicted last year for the rapper's murder. Justin's half-brother Jamarcus also pleaded guilty to being an accessory after the fact, but there was another man charged in the case too, Hernandez Govan. According to prosecutors in Justin's trial, Justin and Cornelius didn't know each other that well. They were brought together by someone known on the street as Qued, real name Hernandez Govan. But why would Hernandez pay for murder? After all, that's what the state alleged. Well, I said just a bit ago to understand this case, we have to go back to the day of the murder in 2021, but really we have to go a little further back than that. And we have to bring someone else into this story too, a man named Anthony Mims, aka Big Jook. So prosecutors claim Big Jook wanted revenge on Young Dolph for the diss tracks that he made about him and his record label. And it should be worth noting, Big Jook is the brother of another famous rapper from Memphis, Yo Gotti. Now let's just say Young Dolph didn't get along with Yo Gotti. Some of their beef was music related, some of it was personal, so one can argue maybe why Big Jook wasn't a fan of Young Dolph. Plus, it's been reported Young Dolph turned down a record deal in 2014 with CMG, known to some as Cocaine Music Group, others Collective Music Group. But it was the record label that was run by Yo Gotti and his brother. Meanwhile, Young Dolph had Paper Route Empire, or PRE, which became known as the rival record label. Years after turning down the CMG deal, Young Dolph's debut, The King of Memphis, came out. And that sparked a major reaction because Yo Gotti claimed that he was the king of Memphis. Okay, so stay with me. There was bickering back and forth on both sides for years, and there was violent foreshadowing along the way. In February of 2017, Young Dolph was shot at on his way to a concert that he was set to perform at in Charlotte, North Carolina. In May of that same year, Yo Gotti associate and rapper Black Youngsta, who was signed to CMG, was one of 3 men who surrendered for their alleged involvement. Black Youngsta was released from jail and the charges were later dropped. Months later, in September, Young Dolph was shot at again. This time, he was actually hit. That shooting happened in Los Angeles, and he survived that time. According to a report by the Commercial Appeal, Yo Gotti was staying at the same hotel as Young Dolph. However, LAPD denied that Yo Gotti was a person of interest. Okay, so for a few years, things seemed to be okay-ish. Then we get to November 17th of 2021, and Young Dolph is shot at again. And this time, he didn't make it. 3 years after Young Dolph's murder, Big Jook, Yo Gotti's brother, is also gunned down. Officials haven't publicly confirmed if Big Jook's murder is connected to Young Dolph's murder. They were years apart, but you can't help but wonder, right? So I've been talking a lot about the beef between Big Jook and Young Dolph. Where does Hernandez Govan fit in? Although he was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder, he wasn't accused of pulling the trigger in the shooting that killed Young Dolph. Instead, it was alleged that he and Big Jook put out a $100,000 hit on Young Dolph, and prosecutors claim to have texts to prove it.
Govan started out by selling drugs to Smith, pills more specifically. But that's not the only thing that Govan did. Govan chose Smith. And Govan chose him to do a job. Govan also chose Justin Johnson, another co-defendant, to do that same job. A job that ended in the life and death of Adolph Thornton Jr. He chose 2 desperate people. Smith, needing money, needing to support his family. Justin Johnson, an aspiring and up-and-coming rap artist that wanted to be on CMG's label. The very label that Govan had access to and was affiliated with. Govan told Smith that there was a $100,000 bounty on Adolph Thornton's life. And that the money was good. The money was guaranteed if Smith and Johnson completed this job. So what did they do? What did the 2 desperate people do? They agreed. And Govan asked for a $10,000 cut from each of them. He chose to ask for this cut from each of them. Smith contacted Govan from Angela Arnold's phone and asked to meet so he could get his phone back. Ladies and gentlemen, there are copious amounts of phone records, and Sergeant Browning will testify that these call detail records will support what Smith is saying. And if that's not enough, Angela Arnold will tell you that she and Smith met with Govan after the murder so that Smith could get his phone back.
Govan's defense attorneys, however, said that the blame of Young Dolph's murder solely relies on the shooters, and the evidence from the cell phones don't tell the whole story.
Remember, Cornelius Smith has made at least 5 different statements to law enforcement over the course of a year where everything changes. He's then met with the prosecution at least 5 or 6 times to go over his testimony prior to testifying here today. So you should ask yourself the question when the judge instructed you, does somebody have a reason to lie? Do they have an interest in the outcome? You are caught red-handed on video, and you're about to see it in a second, taking an AK-47 or lighting it up at a cookie store in broad daylight. He's facing a mandatory life sentence, as I'm going to question him about. And I ask each and every one of you, what would you do if you were facing a mandatory life sentence to get out of it? Why would you need to make so many different statements if you were telling the truth? Because remember, the truth is the truth. You don't need to practice it. You don't need to remember it. It's the truth. So let's see who the government has got in bed with to try to prove their case against Hernandez Govan.
So we aren't going to show the shooting because it's truly that shocking. In the surveillance video, you see two armed men with masks on approach Makia's Cookies, and they just open fire. Seconds later, Young Dolph's brother comes out of the bakery, and he seemingly tries to get his weapon out of the car. He was able to fire off a few rounds, one even hitting Cornelius Smith, but by that time, the white Mercedes sped off. And again, this trial is against Hernandez Govan. While the state claims that they have text communications that corroborate Govan's involvement in the lead-up and aftermath, his defense says that doesn't show the full picture.
The other thing the government's going to try to talk to you about is cell phone tower records. The expert that the government may call, or if they don't call him, I'll call him, will tell you tower records are inherently unreliable because it's not like on TV. There's a reason why all the engineers from the cell phone providers, T-Mobile, AT&T specifically, write in their letters they will not testify in court because of unreliability. The other thing you have to know, and Robert put up the slide, within a 10 square mile area of where all this happened, there are 553 T-Mobile towers. 553 just from T-Mobile. And it's hard to see this because there's so many. There will be more AT&T towers. There will be essentially over 1,000 towers out there. And what the expert will tell you is this isn't an exact science. Just because your phone pings on a certain tower doesn't mean you were there.
The prosecution did call Cornelius Smith to the stand. Now, we don't see his face on camera. However, we can tell he's still in his inmate jumpsuit because he's been behind bars since his arrest in December of 2021. Cornelius testified that he only met Govan in 2021, just months before the shooting, and reiterated what the state said in their openings, that the two met because he was buying drugs off of him.
Why were you buying pills from him?
Because I popped pills. I was popping pills at the time.
Okay.
That was my drug pills.
Did you have a particular reason why you were popping pills?
I had a lot of stress going on or whatever, and it was on and off thing anyway, but then I was just back on.
Was there a particular incident that caused you to start?
I had lost my son in 2020, in March of 2020, and I just went back on, get back on.
You had been on them before?
Yes, man, I had been on them before.
And then at some point stopped?
Stopped,
and after your son
got killed, I stopped at pop.
And through that course you got to know Mr. Govan?
Yes, ma'am.
At what point did the situation change from you, or did it change from you buying pills from him to something else?
Like I guess after a couple runs of going to buy pills on my own from him, he started asking me, I want to make some money. He knew ways I get some money. I'm like, yeah.
Did you want some money?
Yeah, because sometimes I go to him and ask, can I get a couple pills on credit? So, that was when you want to make some money? I'm like, yeah.
And why did you need money? Were you working at the time?
Yeah, nah, not really. I wasn't just working like that. I couldn't just keep a job with a pill habit like that. I ain't gonna lie like that.
Okay. So you wanted money. What did you want money for?
A lot of different reasons. Make sure my children were straight.
At what point did he mention the actual bounties, as you say?
One night leaving getting some pills, he mentioned the prices on, who had 50 on his head. Young Dolph had 100 on his head. Somebody had 5 on their head, 10 on their head. He mentioned the prices too.
So it was almost like a catalog. This person cost this much. This person cost
telling us
this much.
who had the money on their head, who had the most money on their head,
and who had
Young Dolph had the most money on his head.
And he had 100,000.
100,000 on his head.
And when you say his head,
I mean, if you kill Young Dolph, you get $100,000.
Now, I gotta say here, everyone's got a nickname. Anthony Mims is Big Jook and Hernandez Govan is Quet. So when Cornelius is talking about Jook and Quet, that's what he means.
the individual you described as Jook, is he on the left or right of this photo?
From my angle, he's on the right, the big guy, right on the right.
He's on the right. And the individual on the left, who is that?
That's Quick.
And Jook is the person, do you know his government name?
No, now since I've been locked up, Anthony Mims, since I've been locked up.
And Quet, you No, it's Hernandez Govan. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
Hernandez Govan.
At some point, I'm sure you all exchanged phone numbers.
Me and Quick.
Okay,
Never
and
had Juke no.
you never had Juke's number?
Nah, never had no contact with Juke. Like, how to get in touch with Juke.
So any conversation about bounties went through Govan, is that
And
correct?
Govan the one that did all the talking.
Okay. What name was Quit's saved into your phone?
I hit up on the bro.
Bro? Okay. And how many different phone numbers did you have?
He had 2 different numbers.
But they were both on your phone as bro.
Bro.
It's not a shocker Cornelius admitted to being one of the shooters because he admitted the same thing at Justin Johnson's trial. But this time around, the state was hoping Cornelius would tie Hernandez to Young Dolph's murder. Because remember, Cornelius claims that he and Justin only met Quet, aka Govan.
Govan told you to get with Justin?
Yeah, Quick told me to get with Justin.
Okay. And what reason was he telling you to get with Justin?
So we go find one of the any artists to get this money, you know. And
So, what would Govan gain out of you all getting a bounty or a hit on one of the paper route?
he was getting a cut out of it. You know, he supposed to got $10,000 for me.
Govan was telling you about the turkey drive.
Right. He was telling
And-
me and just
I'm sorry.
he was telling me and just
Were y'all together when he was telling you?
right at his house.
At his house. Did he mention the bounty again? Did he mention the money?
Well, we had already knew the prices on majority of their heads, basically. On everybody else doing the turkey drive, we had already knew the prices already,
Including Dolph.
including Dolph.
And let's go to November the 16th of 2021. What were you and Justin doing that day?
Well, he had called me up. He came and picked me up. We had went because they had a turkey drive in South Memphis somewhere. And me and him was out. We was riding, trying to get one of the artists that day that was doing the drive down there. And as we was out there, I got out on foot. And there was a lot of folks out there standing with guns with her. Justin was in the car. And he called me and told me that he had got a call that Young Dolph was at a gas station up the street from where we was at. So I ran back to the truck, and I jumped back in the truck. When we got to the gas station, Dolph was gone. So we rode around for a minute, then he dropped me back off at the house. And I laid down that night, and he was like, tomorrow we go back out and see what's up.
So on the 16th, at any point did you think, okay, maybe we have a shot at getting Dolph?
Yeah, because we knew he was in town. We knew Dolph was in the city then, and we knew that tomorrow we were full-fledged then. We know we anything in shape right now. We gonna get somebody. We gonna strike. Tomorrow is our day. We gonna strike somebody. We gonna get lucky tomorrow.
And at any point did you all have this conversation with Mr. Govan?
Yeah, we were telling him like we really getting close. We getting fed up with playing. We finna get somebody basically. And he was like, y'all do y'all thing. Handle y'all business.
And in return, you all were supposed to, you expected to be getting money, so.
Right.
What are we looking at here?
It's the Makita's Cookie Show shop where Young Dolph and them pull it in.
Is that the vehicle that you saw previously?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you all?
By that time, we had already, like, we was at the light. We had went down to the light to make the block.
You gesturing this way, so you're the light coming this way?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you see when he got out, when Dolph got out of the car?
No, ma'am.
vehicle coming to the frame? What are we looking at here?
That's the white Mercedes Benz we was in.
And were you the passenger or were you the driver?
I was the passenger.
This individual.
That's me.
This individual.
That's me.
And is this the gun that Justin had already in the car when you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Cornelius testified he did get hit when Young Dolph's brother fired back at him and Justin, but Cornelius testified that they headed down to Govan's house after the shooting.
He promised to give you your money that day?
He told us he'd get with us when he got done with his kids or whatever, or when he got up, one or the other. It was one or the other.
But you didn't have Trick's number,
No, ma'am.
so he couldn't get with you directly.
No, ma'am. He couldn't get with me directly.
So how would he have been able to get with you?
I would have had to go through Mr. Hernandez Govan or Justin Johnson.
Cornelius was cross-examined as the defense tried to poke holes in his story, but shortly after he was off the stand, his girlfriend Angela Arnold was called to testify. She also didn't appear on camera, but she testified she's seen Govan a handful of times.
So you and Cornelius Smith would go to Govan's house?
I would ride with him, yes.
Okay. Would you ever go inside?
No,
So how do you know it was Govan's house?
because Cornelius told me.
Did you see Govan outside the home?
Yes,
Okay. Do you know where this home is located?
on Bradley Street,
Okay. What area of town is that?
Orange Mountain.
And on the times that you saw him at the home, did you ever speak to Mr. Govan?
No,
Have you ever spoken to Mr. Govan?
no,
And so did Mr. Smith ever tell you about discussions that he might have had with Mr. Govan?
yes.
So what did he tell you?
He said, something about a hit
A hit on who?
on Dolph.
So Cornelius Smith told you that he talked about a Dolph hit with Hernandez Govan.
Yes,
And so did Mr. Smith ever tell you any specifics about this hit on Dolph?
no,
Okay. Did he tell you when and where they were going to do it?
no,
Okay. And to your knowledge, did Mr. Smith ever have, well, let me back up a little bit. Do you know someone by the name of Anthony Mims or Big Joe?
yes,
Okay. To your knowledge, did Smith ever have direct contact with Big Joe?
no.
So how would he, if he communicated at all with Big Joe, how did he do that?
He said he would talk to Govan, send a message through him, and he would get a message to Juke. And Juke would talk to Govan, and Govan would tell them a message.
Okay. So Govan was the link between Mr. Smith and Big Joe.
Yes,
On the same day of the shooting, Cornelius called his girlfriend from a number she didn't recognize and asked her to pick him up at an apartment complex she's never been to before.
And who's that walking out right there?
this Cornelius with a bag in his hand.
Is Cornelius in the black?
Yes,
Okay. And at that point, is he walking towards your car?
yes,
Angela testified when her boyfriend Cornelius got in the car, he told her that he was shot while shooting at Young Dolph. And just like the prosecution pointed out in their opening statement, the shooters tried to cover up their tracks. They changed their clothes, they used gloves, ditched the car, until Cornelius realized he left his phone in the stolen Mercedes used to track Young Dolph down. Then a few weeks after the murder, Cornelius ran into Govan.
Did he ever tell you that he ran into Govan
Yes.
after the murder?
yes.
Okay. When did he tell you that?
He said he was going to get, he was in South Memphis going to get some pills, and he ran into him in traffic. He blew the horn. Govan turned around, made a U-turn, and got behind him. He said they got out, and Govan was like, "I've been looking for you. You good? You all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm good." He said, Govan was like, "I don't know what you done heard, but I ain't said nothing. But we gonna get this money."
So based on what's been testified to, you would think that the prosecution had some strong arguments.
Defense will have you believe that there was no communication between Hernandez Govan and the rest of the conspirators. Sergeant Browning testified that on November 2nd, 2021, there were 7 communications between Justin Johnson and the number for Hernandez Govan. On November 3rd, 7 communications between Justin Johnson and Hernandez Govan. 20 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. On November 4th, 7 communications between Justin Johnson and Hernandez Govan. 2 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. On November 5th, 1 communication between Justin Johnson and Hernandez Govan. 4 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. And as we get closer to the murder, November 6th, 4 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. November 12th, 5 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. November 15th, 2 days before the homicide, 2 communications between Cornelius Smith and Hernandez Govan. You heard it from defense that there was hardly any communication between Hernandez Govan and the conspirators immediately prior to the murder. But you see here that there was communication.
But the defense didn't see it that way, again placing the full responsibility of Young Dolph's murder on the shooters.
None of you would buy a pack of gum based on the word of Cornelius Smith. You wouldn't do it because he's a lying piece of so-and-so that will do anything. Lie to his pretend grandmother, his family, his girlfriend, anybody. And I'm going to prove it to you as we're going to go through a few more slides. And Detective Browning may even be worse because that's just pure evil, trying to put people in prison based on shaded evidence. Dabney told you the truth, that we didn't do all this other stuff that we should have done. We didn't get around to it, was his quote. He wasn't happy about it, but he told me the truth. The other guy couldn't answer a yes-no question. It was always dodge and deflect, which is what they're taught to do as part of their training when they go and come and testify. These are the people that are policing your streets. You should be ashamed. The only crime that's being committed here today is in this courtroom. It's been committed for the last 3 days. This poor man will never get his life back because of what's happened. He's been threatened because they all think he's involved in the Young Dolph murder, and everybody loves Dolph. Dolph has been threatened for years. He moved away from Memphis 5 years ago. He had 3 old bullets in his body from other times he'd been shot at by people, being in Charlotte, being in Los Angeles. Everybody knew there was a price on his head. There is no plan. There is no plan. I tell you why? Because if I made a plan and I go back to my house across the street with the murder car, are you freaking kidding me? And then they go ahead and call around to see where can we go to get changed. We are across the street from the guy that planned the murder. We don't go to his house to change clothes, but we ride around town until somebody picks up the phone, as you see from the records, and we go to 2 Lane while we're bleeding and doing everything else. Have you seen a single photo of Angel Arnold's car, the Mercedes, or anything that had a drop of blood in it? As if they said, Cornelius is a pathological liar. I don't even know if he got shot on that day, because you have to ask yourself. There is a bullet lodged in his shoulders, he told you. For a freaking month, he didn't get infected? He didn't have a problem? He just put some bandages on it and it was okay? Please, for the love of God, this is insane that I even have to talk to you about this. If this is what is sufficient evidence for first-degree murder, we're all in trouble because you're going to be next.
It's important to note that Hernandez Govan didn't take the stand in his own defense. The other convicted shooter, Justin Johnson, also didn't testify. But it seemed like the jury agreed with the defense when they came back with their verdict after 3 hours of deliberations.
We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 1 of the indictment. State of Tennessee versus Hernandez Govan, count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 2 of the indictment. Ma'am?
Court's in session.
Govan was holding back tears after the jury came back with their decision. And after being acquitted on all charges, he was free to go home.
I knew I had a chance from the beginning because I knew in my heart I was innocent. And so, it was times during the trial, of course, you get some frustrations and stuff here and there, but overall, I knew my innocence would prevail.
As for the two shooters, Justin Johnson is serving his sentence out in the South Central Correctional Center in Tennessee. As for Cornelius Smith, he has pleaded not guilty to his charges, even though he admitted in both Justin Johnson's trial and Hernandez Govan's trial that he was one of the shooters. At this time, no trial date has been set for him yet. Thanks so much for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner.